Alright, welcome to Night Warriors Darkstalkers Revenge. This is technically the second game in the Darkstalkers series, but it's really just an enhanced version of the first game. I'm going to be playing through the arcade mode as Morrigan, who is my favorite character by far in the Darkstalkers series. I'm playing this on the Darkstalkers Resurrection collection, which came out in like 2013, I think. I'm playing the import version, which is why in the intro it said vampire, and why some of the text is going to be in Japanese. The only reason I did that is because I wanted a physical copy of this, because I am a stickler for that. This game is not as good as Darkstalkers 3, which is also included in this collection. I really just wanted to play this just to, you know, I didn't want to just start with Darkstalkers 3. Figured let's get the full experience here. So the story of this one goes that there is an alien named Pyron who is coming to Earth, I guess to just destroy it, or to like add it to the amount of planets that he's destroyed and conquered. I guess that's the story. Morrigan, as we all know, is a succubus, which is why she's so dang hot. She's designed, you know, to be that way. I think she's a cool character. She's exactly the kind of character that I like to play as, where she's fast. She's not too fast. She's kind of like a mid-tier character, I would say. I mean, I know nothing about fighting games. Let me preface this like I preface every single arcade game that I've played. I am not good at fighting games. I don't know anything about them. I'm not an expert. You're not going to see expert level play here, nor will you ever see expert level play from me. I just like to have fun with these games. Darkstalkers 3 rules. Darkstalkers 3 is rad as fuck. This one feels way slower. I think the arcade mode is out of control. You can see how big this video is. It's a 30-minute long video. That should not be allowed to exist. We fight, I think, 10 characters and then 2 boss characters. That's too much. It's way too much. Darkstalkers 3, not only is the gameplay faster, but the arcade mode is way trimmed down. I think you fight like 6 or 7 characters in total. It's so much better. I don't dislike this one. I just feel like the AI is way cheaper in this one. And as you can see, I'm using the auto block feature, which just basically means if you don't press any buttons, sometimes the character will just automatically block an attack. Which, if you've watched me play any fighting game, like literally any fighting game on this channel, you'll know that I just don't block. It's a mechanic that I often forget is even included in fighting games. I feel like it's cheating to block. Unfortunately, the AI does not see eye to eye on that matter. I feel like this game in particular, every single enemy blocks every single thing. And I feel like it's really aggressive. I do not have that same issue with Darkstalkers 3. Like basically at all. So yeah, that's where I'm at basically with Darkstalkers 1 and 2 versus 3. Obviously, this is a series that a lot of people would like to see continue, and I completely agree with that. I love these characters. I've talked recently about how I've never really loved Street Fighter. I think the gameplay is just kind of a little boring. And I think it's because the characters are a little bit more grounded. You know, Darkstalkers was made basically to, you know, appeal more to like Western audiences with the kind of cartoony aesthetics which is why this game looks so good. Like, still. I mean, yeah, this is the HD version, but basically nothing's been, like, changed. These are, like, the same sprites, basically. And the animations look so good. Every character looks super expressive. You can see, like, when characters get hit, they get, like, these really, like, their eyes bug out of their heads. Like a classic cartoon. It looks really good. It has a lot of expression, and I think that goes a long way for, a type of game like this. So, I was going to re-record this video because it really bothers me that I forgot to put Morrigan in her default costume, like her default colors, but the game also doesn't seem to give a shit because what is that? She's got like green hair there, and like a weird pink version of her suit, and in the beginning it's like blonde in that like intro scene. So I really couldn't tell you what the hell's up with that, but this is probably my second favorite of the outfits. I'm just a stickler for, if I'm playing a game like this, I have to play as the default, because otherwise it just feels wrong to me. And I guarantee not a single other person gives a shit about that. It's just my weird little neuroses where I'm like, no, Morgan, she's got green hair and her outfit's purple, not teal and brown or whatever this color is. Like most people, the first time I ever saw any of these characters, like Morrigan or the character that we're currently fighting, hsein-ko, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I don't think I've ever had to say her name out loud before. hsein-ko, I don't know. In Japanese, her name's just lei-lei, which is way easier to pronounce. But yeah, I saw most of them in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is a game that I grew up with. Of course, when I was a kid, I didn't know any of the Capcom characters, except, like, maybe Mega Man. And, basically just bought that game because, like, you know, Spider-Man was in it, and Venom. And, now I'm like, damn, that game had a crazy good Capcom roster. I mean, my girl is in that. My girl. Jill Valentine is in that. And, yeah, what a great roster. But yeah, I think Morrigan, hsein-ko is in it, Anacharis is in it, I think, is that it? Felicia's in that, right? Is she? Is Felicia in that? I can't think of whether or not she is or not. Obviously this game was made to, I think they wanted to make like a Universal's like Movie Monsters game, but they didn't want to like approach them to pay for the license, which I think is a smart idea, to do your own thing. Like Victor here, obviously he's supposed to be Frankenstein. I'm glad they didn't just call him Frank. And you've heard of Young Frankenstein. How about Thick Frankenstein? Thictor, they should have called this guy. He's got some great attacks where he like uses his ass cheeks, his ginormous ass cheeks, to like grab you, and it's pretty ridiculous. He thick. My boy is thick. But yeah, it's such a great personality that this game has, and the backgrounds are perhaps some of the best like fighting game backgrounds I've ever seen. I think obviously most people would say like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and stuff like that, but these particularly the ones in Darkstalkers 3, like most things, I think that is superior. But yeah, it's got some great stuff here. Like, this is just a great looking map. It's got great music. That's a great attack that I never remember how to do, except for like certain times during matches. Like, look at this art. It's so weird. Okay, so this mirror match with Morrigan was maybe the most frustrating thing I've ever had to do in an arcade mode of a fighting game. What you're seeing here is not my first attempt, it's not my second, it's maybe my 6th or 7th. This is, I think, a perfect encapsulation of what I believe to be wrong with the AI in this game. Again, I'm not a fighting game guy, I can't very well defend myself against something like this. I'm a casual. But it seems to me that there's something wrong here, because Morrigan basically sat back and spammed projectile attacks at me the whole time. When I got close to her, she would just block everything. Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. I was about to, like, tear my fucking hair right out of my head. And I think this game also does something that I think another one of the reasons I just don't like Mortal Kombat. Same thing with Street Fighter. I just think they're boring. The characters are boring. I mean, I don't think that was Street Fighter. Street Fighter, I like the characters. I just don't think the gameplay looks that interesting to me. Mortal Kombat, the gameplay is good. The characters are so boring. Which is why I like the Injustice games, because that's at least characters I like in that gameplay style. But Mortal Kombat is all about, you know, it's about being edgy and being violent, and there's blood and stuff. This game has some violence in it, and there's some blood in it, but it's all cartoony, and it's not, like, over the top, like, oh, Morrigan gets, you know, her spine broken due to a finishing move. No, there's a character that we're going to see, I think, next, who has a sword, who can cut Morrigan in half, but it's not, like, violent. It just looks funny. You know, it's got the violence, but it's not over the top. It's not, like, real violence, I guess, if that makes any sense. And, you know, I like violent video games, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know if I need to punch a character in a game like this and just have buckets of blood come out, or have to see their X-rayed skull get crushed. You can see this third round is when I got really aggressive, because I was so fed up with fighting this fucking Morrigan that I just got really aggressive and just did not relent, basically. Also, I guess I never noticed it until someone pointed it out, but Morrigan, they reused these sprites basically until they stopped making these 2D games. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was the first time that she had a unique look to her in one of these games. Which I guess in some of the games, like, I've never played SNK vs. Capcom or whatever it's called. Capcom vs. SNK. It's, yeah, her sprite is very out of place because it's like a completely different art style. But, yeah. Series is probably never coming back. And I guess that's kind of okay, because a lot of these characters have made their way into, like, a bunch of other games. But it would be nice to get an actual Darkstalkers game. This collection that I'm playing, actually, was Capcom kind of sending out feelers to be like, hey, how does everyone feel about a new Darkstalkers game? Buy this and we'll make a new one if everyone, you know, if enough people buy it. Which isn't a bad idea. But, you know, it didn't really sell very well. They did the same thing with Resident Evil a couple years back, where they put the remake of 1 on PS4 and Xbox. And they were like, hey, if this sells well, this is gonna, like, determine the future of the series. And that was, like, right after Resident Evil 6, I think. And so that one sold, like, really good. So they were like, alright, Resident Evil 7, it's gonna go back to the roots, we're gonna do, like, real survival horror here. That's why that game happened, basically. Obviously they weren't able to have the same effect with Darkstalkers, because this really did not sell very well. Which I guess the Darkstalkers series is kind of confusing, because like I said in the beginning, this is Night Warrior's Darkstalkers Revenge, which was billed as a sequel, but it's technically a enhanced version of the first game. Like, this dude was not in the first game. He's an added version to this version. Him and hsein-ko were new additions to this game. Which Donovan, I like that there's just a little girl next to him, why not? He's an actual vampire hunter, which I think is a cool concept. to put into a game like this. You know, you've got all these monsters, and then I think both of them are... No, hsein-ko is a vampire. A Chinese vampire. There's a difference. Yeah, I think it's cool that there's an actual, like, vampire hunter type character in here. And that they didn't just go for, like, a Van Helsing type guy. Like, he's got a very unique design that you wouldn't normally associate with, like, oh, this guy's a vampire hunter. I've seen a lot of people say that Morrigan is like the Captain Falcon of Capcom, and I gotta say that is incredibly accurate. Where Captain Falcon basically hasn't had his own game since like the GameCube, but he's in a bunch of other stuff. Morrigan hasn't had a game of her own, you know, a Darkstalkers game since the 90s, but she's been in so many other games since then that she's basically not a Darkstalkers character anymore. She's just a Capcom character, or a crossover character, really. This guy, Lord Raptor, is probably one of the funniest characters. I think he's a really interesting character, but man, this was another really frustrating one. Any character basically that has any kind of range in this game, it sucks, and they can eat my dick. He has this like really ridiculous like chainsaw leg attack that goes like halfway across the screen. It just shouldn't be allowed. I'm telling you, should not be allowed. This game should be more fair to me. There should be a DLC just for me where it makes all the characters nice to me and like apologize when they attack me. Basically, I'm a child and I need to be treated as such. Yeah, he's just like a rock and roll like zombie guy, or he's like a ghoul or something. I think he's based on the Iron Maiden like mascot, which is incredibly obvious when you look at it. Yeah, he's pretty great. Very expressive, like funny animations. And I guess another one of the reasons that this video went on for way too long was that not only, you know, are there 10 fucking characters you have to fight, I also lose at least one round per thing, so it's 3 rounds each character. Look, and this dude's pretty thick too. Damn, dude, you know, everyone's always busting a nut over Morrigan. I could have phrased that better. It's fine. But man, Victor and Lord Raptor here, they a little thick too. They a little on the thick side. You like your Scottish succubi to have, you know, your Scottish succubi big titty goth GF is basically how I would describe Morrigan. But you can also have your Iron Maiden mascots to be kind of thick. You like Frankenstein? Well, maybe you'll like them more if you got a little badonkadonk. I was so fucking fed up at this point. I was like, just walk into my fist, please. Morrigan, one of my favorite appearances that Morrigan has in a game is Project Cross Zone. Because for the most part in that game, she's teamed up with my absolute dude, Frank West, and it's great. They have great chemistry together, and I was hoping to see more of that in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but I think she was paired up for the most part with Dante, right? I don't really remember much of that story, other than the scenes that Frank West and Mike Hagar were in, and Chris. See, people always shit on that game. I mean, it's not very good, and the art style is very bad. But that game came in a very dark period, and I was very happy with it. Because not only did it give us Frank, voiced by T.J. Rotolo, Frank was great in that game. Character-wise, he was amazing. It gave us Chris, at least for right now, voiced for the last time by Roger Craig Smith. which is great. And Mike Hagar was in it, and he was great. So I'll always appreciate that. Those scenes with Spider-Man, was it Spider-Man, Chris Redfield, Mike Hagar, and Frank West? Just saying that sounds like I wrote that. Like, not me as a kid, just me now. I was like,
Yeah, well, right. There's a scene with Spider-Man and he meets Frank West, and Mike Hagar's there, and Chris Redfield's there, and then they fight Nemesis, and
it's good stuff, guys, is what I'm saying. Also, this guy can suck my ass. Specifically in Darkstalkers 2, that character fucking sucks. He's another one that just blocks everything. At least specifically in this one, he just will not stop. Rikuo. So this is Huitzel, who is, he's not like a singular character. He's like a you could see them in the background. There's a bunch of them. By the way, this is one of the few times where I think that the Japanese name is better. Phobos is a better name. He was like a robot sentry, I guess, kind of like his army, built like millions of years ago on Earth. So yeah, there's a bunch of them. It's Pyron's robot army, and he's basically Bastion before Bastion was a thing from Overwatch. A lot of his animations, just his design overall, and a lot of his animations are very, very Bastion-esque. Because I don't remember, I think he wins here, but one of his win animations is a bunch of birds just land on him, which is, yeah, there you go, which is literally, that's just what happens in Overwatch. That's just what happens in Overwatch. They just did that. But yeah, I think that's cool. I think it's cool that it at least builds up to, you know, you gotta fight Huitzel first, and then you fight Pyron. But you could have trimmed this down. Give 6 characters and then these 2. You don't need 10 characters then this. It's so absurd. I don't think I've ever played a fighting game arcade mode that went on that long. Maybe that's the norm, but this game just feels slow. It feels very slow. That attack is so great. So what that attack is it brings you like across the screen, basically to the other side of the character, and you still have to press a button in it, and it'll like automatically activate a combo, which is very nice. I like that attack of hers a lot. She has another attack where she has like big laser guns. I never do that because I'm bad at command prompts. Simple as that. I'm just simply bad at command prompts. So now we are going to fight Pyron, who is a complete fucking chump. There were a couple characters here where, you know, what you're seeing isn't my first attempt. Huitzel was one, Morrigan was one, Lord Raptor was another. Pyron, I've never had a problem with this guy. This guy is a fucking chump. After just, you know, I did that video in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, where the final boss of that is such a pain in the dick. It was a nice breather, nice change of pace to come back to this guy and be like, yeah, he's just a gigantic chump. And he can actually suck my eggs, dude. And you know, most characters here got at least 1 win on me, making it 3 matches. Now this guy, he sucks. Couldn't even do that. What a loser. Although again, visually, very cool looking. Very, very cool. Who was that guy from Marvel vs. Capcom 2? He was just kind of looked like this guy a little bit. He was like the final boss of that, but wasn't he like made of fire? I don't remember. He was a cool looking gent. And yes, it does look like we're fighting in front of the Master Emerald from Sonic. Like, look how colorful the background is. The background's so good. This game is so good. I have never seen the Darkstalkers OVA. I think I'm going to try and track that down and watch those. Because the animation looked very good. And it'd be cool to see like you know, some stories involving these characters that I do quite like. I've also never read the Udon comics. I would very much like to do that. But I think those are like way out of print and probably not very easy to do. And I'm not the kind of guy who's just like, I'll look it up on a website. I need to have it in hand. Damn it. I'll translate this. I'll put the stuff on, screen. Like, look, this is so weird. This goes on for so long. I don't know how I'm even gonna translate this one. What a pose. Make sure that you get to see her boobs and her butt. Masterfully done. Such a good design, though. Like, so classic. Instantly recognizable. Great colors. I mean, I might be biased. Purple and green are my favorite colors, but yeah. So that is Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. I was talking about this when I played Final Fight. That basically, like, all of the like Japanese devs back in the day used to just put like nicknames or just weird pseudonyms here. I did look into it, and apparently I thought it was to westernize it, to make it like not so foreign. Apparently it was so that talent couldn't get poached. Like, Capcom didn't want their, it's not just Capcom, but companies didn't want like Shinji Mikami to put his name in the credits, so he would use a pseudonym. So that Sega wouldn't see that and go, oh, that guy did a good job, let's get him. So that's why you have nonsense like Panda in the program design, which I think is kind of interesting. And I'm glad they stopped doing that. It's basically the same thing with comic books, where it like took a really long time for people's names that worked on it to be outside of the, like, on the cover. It used to be hidden inside the comic. Whereas now, it's, you know, on the outside you see who wrote it and who drew it. But that's it for this game. I will see you in Darkstalkers 3, which rules. So I'm very excited for that one, and see you then.